Hello, I'm Jagan from Grow with Data. Welcome to the Crack SQL Interview in 50 question series. In this video series, we will practice 50 SQL questions across various topics. You can use the playlist Crack SQL Interview in 50 questions to follow the videos related to this series. For each video in this series, you can find the related code on my GitHub. Feel free to explore the code and provide any feedback in the comment section. If you have seen my previous videos, you know how to go to my YouTube channel and the playlist. You can see the Crack SQL Interview playlist. And for the GitHub, you can go to the description. You have the link to the description. Okay. Now, let's dive into the 15th video of the series. In this video, we are going to start with the basic aggregation function. Let's see the data set and you can talk about the question in detail. So we are given a table, cinema, which got a movie ID, a movie name, the description, and the rating. Let's create the table. So movie ID is the primary key for this table. That means every record in the cinema will have a unique ID. There won't be any duplicates. We are asked to write a solution to return the movies with the odd number ID. The movie ID should be odd. And the description is not having the word boring. You have to return the result based on the movie ID. Okay. This is a simple exercise to validate it. This is basically to validate the filter conditions in SQL, how you export to the where conditions. We have to know how to find the odd even function first, and then we have to use the text-based filter to see whether that description is having boring or not. Let's see the SQL and we can take it further. Let's comment this out. So the table name is cinema from cinema. The first filter is we have to find whether the movie ID is odd or even. How will you use it? You can use the mod function. The movie ID equal to 1, right? So what this does, it will divide the movie ID by 2. If it see the remainder is 0, that is even number, like 2, 4, 6, 8. When you divide by 2, the remainder is 0. But 1, 3, 5, 7, when you divide by 2, the remainder is going to be 1. So the mod will get the remainder and we check if it's 1. That means it's an odd number. And the description part. The description not equal to boring. So what we have to bring in? The movie ID, the movie name, the description, rating. So now we filtered out the description which is not equal to boring. So the 2 is a even number, so that will be filtered with the first condition. And the 3, the movie Irish, it's boring, so it will filter out. And 4 is an even number, we ignore it. And 5, the description is interesting, so it just brings up 1 and 5. So we can play around with the conditions. Like instead of mod, we can use the percentage symbol. So percentage symbol is a replacement for mod. It's specific to a database. There are databases which don't consider the percentage as mod, but MySQL will consider that. And for not equal to, you can use the greater than and less than symbol. This is also not equal to. This will give you the same result. And you can say mod ID instead of equal to, if you say not equal to, then you can say 0, right? So if it's not equal to 0, that means it's odd. Like if you have to find the multiples of 3, multiples of 4, right? Then you can't say a single number. You can just say not equal to 0. That means it's not, the number is not divisible by that divisor. Okay. Instead of not equal to, you can say exclamation and equal to. Even this works. Okay. So these are the basic filter conditions. We can use it. Now I'm going to add few more records and see if my SQL is going to address those. Let's bring in those records. If you see these movies, this is a even number, so we ignore it. And 7 is an odd number, and the movie Bombay Velvet, the description is having the word boring in it. It's boring. right? And they'll say it's a romantic movie, and red it says boring. So when I run this SQL, it should filter 7 and 9 because it has the word boring. Let's see how it works. Okay, let's comment this out. So if you see this, the movie 9 got filtered out. Only 7 is coming up. If you see, the B is capital here, but the B is small in the filter condition. So MySQL is not case sensitive, it's case insensitive. That means it will consider capital B and small b as the same character. But database like Oracle, they are case sensitive. So those will consider this capital B as a different boring as the small b. So how will you address those database? The simple way is you can simply say lower case of the description. So what will this lower case do? It will basically convert those characters into a lower case. I'm just doing in the select statement to see how the interesting part is going to work. Okay. And its boring is also going to come because this filter is not enough. So if you see the interesting, the capital I becomes small I, and its boring, the capital I becomes small I. So that's how the lower function works. Now, even if the database is not case insensitive, like if they are case sensitive, then this conversion will address whether it's a capital B or a small b, right? So that's the first one. Second one is if the description is having the word boring in it with some additional characters in it, like it's boring or the movie is boring, right? So we have to filter all that. So how will I do that? So instead of saying not equal to, I can simply say not like. So when I say not like boring, even then it will show you the result because it's looking for the exact word. So what I do, you have to look for the word boring. Before that word, you can have any characters or any numbers or characters, right? Alphanumeric. And after the G, you can have any numbers or characters. Okay. Now, if you run this, it will filter out the not boring thing because it will look for the word boring. It don't consider if there is any characters before or after. Like it just look for the word in that column and then it just filter out. So this works fine. Now, so what sort of thing I have to say? Okay, if there is one more value, like let's say you insert one more movie where the description is going to say, for example, 10 is a even number, will get filtered, say 11, you say tester, they say the movie is not boring, right? If they say the movie is not boring, that means it's not a right way of filtering, right? Like if they are saying it's not boring, means it's not a boring movie. So we should consider this. But when you run this, it won't get that record because it look for the word boring in it, right? It won't consider whatever the previous or the next characters or words are. So this is kind of a exception. So we can't do much with it. We have to go for the regular expression or you have to go for text like natural language processing part of it to find the part that we have to look for boring, but the other sentiments like the positive sentiments has to be allowed. For that, the easier way is you go for some Python kind of language where you go for natural language processing and stuff. But since we use only SQL, the best way we can address this is we say not like boring, right? So instead of that, you can just say a case statement and case when the description like not boring, then you say 1. Okay, the same way you can say when the description not like boring, then 1 and equal to 1. This is a kind of hard coding part of it, and it can bring you the not boring. So what we do is the case statement will find if the description is saying not boring, right? Then you consider that as a good one. And if that first condition satisfies, then you don't go to the second condition. It just skips that condition. So that is our advantage. So what we do, the second condition, if the description is not like boring, then also you consider that as one. And you see whether the value is one, right? So this is only for this condition. If they have two space in between, right, this will address. But if they have some other word, positive word before boring, it might get filtered out. So we have to ask the interviewer what are all the exceptions we can handle, right? Whether description part, we hardly look for boring, whatever be the other characters, we just ignore it. And we just say whether the description has to be case sensitive or not, right? We have to clarify all this before you start the interview, right? Before you start the coding part. So after you write the initial version of the code, right? So I wrote it. So the initial version of the code haven't addressed any of these, right? So once you have the basic version and the interviewer comes back and say, what if the description is having capital B? So what if there is a word which says not boring? So how will you address it, right? So once you have the SQL and the interviewer ask you about those additional edge cases, then it's not good to add these kind of conditions. So you clarify these kind of conditions before you start the SQL, then you can do it. Most of the time they will say, go directly look for the description not like boring. You don't have to worry about it. So that will be the, most of the time that will be the answer for it. That will make your life much easier rather than waiting for the interviewer to give you some feedback and then you change your SQL, right? So this is a simple SQL, but the main thing is you have to get few clarifications before you start, and then you have to know how to address the edge cases. So that is the takeaway of this video. Hope you like this video and thanks for watching.